Hello, I'm Deborah Sedillo Dugan, and welcome to another City Update. This is a very, very special City Update because we are at the Black Theater Troupe in downtown, just blocks away from 7th Street and Washington. They're celebrating their 50th year. And I'm here with Mitch Menchaca to talk about the Arts and Culture Office and what that office does for you, the resident. Mitch, it's great seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So it's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been a while. For our viewers, you've been in this position for about 3 years or so. Give us a little glimpse in your background, because you have a really cool background.
Yeah, sure, thanks. Can't believe it's coming up on 3 years. I started off as a theater kid in high school and college, and then decided that the admin side of the arts is probably a little bit more of a lucrative career. I didn't have the guts to try it out on the main stage, but have worked in arts administration at the State Arts Commission. I was in DC with Americans for the Arts, in Los Angeles with a statewide California arts advocacy organization, and was drawn back to Arizona for this job, and really excited to be here to advocate for the great arts and culture we have in the city.
And we do have a great arts and culture right here in Phoenix. So your office, and a lot of people may not really even realize that there is an office with the City of Phoenix. Tell us what you do.
Sure.
Or what the office does overall.
The Office of Arts and Culture is the designated local arts agency for the city of Phoenix. There's usually a local arts agency in every major city and mid-sized cities, and even some small cities, and we are the cultural champions for the city. The Office of Arts and Culture started off managing the city's public art collection. You might see some pieces in downtown. At the airport, we have a big collection, but we do have pieces in every district, so we commission artists to work with the community to build these really great projects with funding partners in the city of Phoenix. We also give out about $1 million annually in grants to nonprofit arts and cultural organizations like Black Theater Troupe to make sure that cultural resources are being offered to all residents. We do some education and arts learning program for young people, professional development for artists and arts workers. We manage 8 cultural facilities around the city.
Wow.
And we also do some national research and studies to make sure that we're making the best case for the arts.
Wow, that is a great overview. And I got to tell you, a lot of people don't realize when we talk about public art, I love going and seeing the many public art bridges there are just around the city. That's public art. Or even when you walk on a corner, oh, that's public art. And you could just start thinking, it's amazing. And I love it.
Well, great. And we have some really great infrastructure projects. And our newest one is on the new Loop 202 in South Phoenix. And you can see this bridge that's really awesome that was designed by an artist, but also with infrastructure of construction trades to bring that piece to life. So art is everywhere.
Absolutely. And I want to touch base too a little bit on Her Secret is Patience, which is right downtown across the street from ASU, Walter Cronkite. And that is, we did an interview with the artist years ago when they were installing it. And it brings a lot of jobs. It's not just the artists, but there's the engineers, there's the fabricators. There's a lot of people that really make that happen. Can you talk a little bit about that piece, which is a very interesting, iconic piece now, if you will, for downtown?
It is iconic and had some controversy.
It
but
sure
Janet
did.
Eckelman is an amazing artist, international artist.
Yes.
And again, what's really great about public art is she came to Phoenix, worked with the community to get some inspiration on the piece. And that's when that Civic Space Park was being created and revamped by the Parks Department. And it takes a lot of people, the fabricators, the lighting designers, even the Parks and Recreation crew that's to keep up that park in certain ways to make sure that the piece is always on display. And we are about to replace the net itself next year, which is a big undertaking because you have to replace it about every 5 years because Phoenix's summer heat does terrible things to that netting. And so you have to make sure it's always pristine. So there's always jobs available when public art is being produced.
Interesting. And you mentioned that the city does, in fact, own and operate a handful. What are those buildings and art cultural institutions?
Sure. So we are the landlord, if you will. We don't actually run the programmings like Black Theater Troupe here is one of our facilities. We make sure that maintenance is being maintained, but Black Theater Troupe can focus on the performances and the business of the theater. The Phoenix Art Museum, which used to be the Phoenix Public Library, is one of our facilities. The Art Museum runs their exhibitions, their staff, their programming, and when we get calls that that the air conditioner's broken. That's for us to get out there and make sure that it's tip-top shape for our guests.
I love it. I love it. And then you have some children's programs too. You oversee too with any of the arts. Is that?
So we have a Youth Arts and Culture Council. We
That's right.
bring in young people from all districts to come together to talk about what the arts and culture mean to youth. So anywhere from 8th grade up to high school. And they have helped us shape some programming. Before the pandemic, we had a great youth showcase out in the Maryvale area where young artists could display their works, meet other young artists, and talk about their futures as potential artists or arts workers. And that's some of the things that we really enjoy, getting to connect from young people to seniors in our community through the arts.
And we have everything. We have dance, we have symphony, we have children's theater, we have the list goes on, which I absolutely love. And you just mentioned the pandemic, and we as a country, as a world, as a state, as a city, we're hit really hard, and it impacted everybody, including the arts. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll never forget March 2020, where we had to first put the news out to our facility tenants to say, got to close for 2 weeks, and just getting questions like, well, what does that mean? What do we do? And from our other partners out in the city about the future, as when the pandemic hit, it was the end of a season for most arts organizations. And we just thought, 2-week closure, you're going to take a little financial hit, and all will be well when we can reopen and we'll rejoice. The COVID thing will be gone. Well, now we're 18 months later, and a lot of organizations have stayed shuttered, especially performing arts, because you can't have big crowds. You don't want to sit shoulder to shoulder with, your neighbors to watch a performance. But museums and visual art spaces have been able to reopen and do social distancing and do some creative programming. And performing arts organizations have too. Phoenix Theater built an entire outdoor stage. The Herberger Theater Center built an entire outdoor stage and did some performances, but the shows that they would produce on their main stage are long gone. A lot of other organizations did some really wonderful virtual programming. Teatro Bravo, one of our Latinx theater companies, did an entire production virtually, had to rethink the show and how to engage audiences. Sounds Academy did one of their galas virtually and showed their young people on it. So people have been creative, but I know they're really hoping to get back to some sort of normalcy with connecting with the community and connecting with audiences. But it isn't easy, especially as we keep having these surge in waves of COVID-19.
It really has impacted. And incidentally, I did go to the Phoenix Theater to see the Johnny Cash performance, and it was fabulous. A little different. It was outside, but hey, it worked. I got my fix of theater. So it's good to see it coming back a little bit. And I know the Black Theater, just for you watching now too, is going to come back in September. Cross our fingers, it's all going to happen. But that's just around the corner. So that's really, really cool. So we got hit hard. Jobs were lost. People were out of work. People weren't buying, arts, or they weren't commissioning. Maybe, plays stopped. I mean, just the trickle down effect with everything. Huge economic impact for our community, in particular the arts. But there's some funding.
There's some funding. Yeah, Mayor and Phoenix City Council generously allocated $5 million from the American Rescue Plan federal money to arts and culture to help organizations like Black Theater Troupe get back on their feet as the seasons hopefully will begin. A lot of job loss happened during the pandemic, especially in the arts. The arts and cultural sector here in Phoenix employ about 13,000 individuals. That was before the pandemic. We knew furloughs, layoffs happened during. And so we're trying to help the arts and cultural organizations have a little bit of cash to just be able to restart. And so we actually just announced $2.75 million to nonprofit arts and cultural organizations of all sizes, of all disciplines, and in every council district. So it's not just the organizations in the central core. It's South Phoenix, it's West Phoenix, it's North Phoenix, it's the central area, Arcadia. And so we're really excited to have the opportunity to be able to offer those organizations that a bit of stability with our funding. We also know that you can't have the arts without individual artists, and they've been hit really hard. As you mentioned, commissions. Yes. A lot of artists who are in full time either are making their living off of commissions that people have asked for, or they're dancers, actors that are in shows that are not happening. And so they're also losing some livelihood. We heard many stories of artists that had to give up their craft, give up space, sell studio equipment to try to just make ends meet. And so part of this money will help those artists as well to be able to cover lost revenue, to help them get back on their feet, because we want to retain that talent here in Phoenix. And we also have a few other workforce and community development programs that we're offering. We'll be able to do our small WPA program of putting artists to work out in the community. Our public art program, as we mentioned before, is that art that's going to be there forever. You know, you got sculpture, you've got bridges, but we want to do some temporary fun projects in the community. We can use that funding to put towards murals, to put towards performances in the park, classes that are not in traditional art spaces. So we're really excited about that funding as well. So
Well, that's really exciting, and that's a lot of money.
It is
That's a lot of money.
It's a
So
lot of money.
criteria, let's say if you're an individual artist, what is, just real quickly, what are the kind of bullet points for the criteria to actually apply for that money? And I want to make a point, this is not borrowed money. This is money that you're giving.
That's right.
That there's no payback, there's no, interest, this is money that is allocated for them to get back on their feet. So
That's
what
right.
is the criteria, let's say, for an individual artist?
So for an individual artist to participate in our grant program or the Artist to Work program, we will have guidelines on our website at Phoenix.gov/arts.
Okay.
We will have, for the grant guidelines, you'll have to document the loss of income that you had, and it's a real simple application. You upload lost contracts, emails between yourself and a venue, but you can also apply to say, I need new equipment. I need to train with a master artist to be able to make my craft even better after the pandemic. So there will be an application, and we have money to go around. So we want artists to apply. We don't want folks to think that this is for some other kind of artist. This is for every kind of artist.
Yes.
It's
Multimedia artists,
painters, photographers.
Sculptures.
In one of our artist rounds with the coronavirus relief funding we received last year, we had clowns, we had, photographers, we had DJs.
Wow.
So we think of
Flamenco
artists,
dancers?
flamenco dancers can apply. So we want to make sure that it's the broadest sense. And then with the Artist to Work program, we'll do a call for artists for those projects so that people can see if they're qualified or not to apply. But again, we're trying to get the broadest swath of artists involved here in the city of Phoenix.
And the judging process, or how quick turnaround is it? Do folks know if they have the money?
It will take about a couple of weeks with the artist round. We'll want to make sure that eligibility is happening.
That's
We're very
quick.
clear on our guidelines about how artists are selected. With last year's coronavirus relief funding, we had oodles of money that if you applied, you got a grant. This year, we're hoping for the same thing, but if it does come into where we have more applicants than we can receive, we do have a criteria through our Phoenix Arts and Culture Commission, which is an advisory body that helps us make those allocation choices.
Oh, that's great. Now, if you actually get money last year, can you get money again this
You
year?
can, because the
Okay.
loss from last year was within a 2-month period.
Right.
We have now since way past that original grant program. So yeah,
Wow.
you can continue to come back to us, especially if
it.
you've got the loss.
We've covered a lot. I just want to hear from you. What are your kind of favorite project you're working on right now, or what can you give us a sneak peek what's coming around the corner for the city of Phoenix?
Well, one of the projects that is also ARPA related is to be able to give funding to nonprofit arts and cultural organizations to hire full-time college students or recent graduates to do a full-time internship in the summer or over a semester next year.
Wow.
And we're not talking like $500 stipend or your college
Right.
credit, like the City of Phoenix minimum wage for 40 hours a week. The funding will cover that, plus whatever fees and taxes the organization has to pay to the IRS. So we want to make sure that we're able to give that opportunity to students to give them that experience in the arts, because I know I just graduated with a master's. If I did not have a job, I don't know what I would be doing right now because of the pandemic. So I'm really excited about that internship program.
Oh, that is really exciting. A lot of young people are going to be really excited about that too. A lot of folks are at the Herberger at ASU, just getting in, they're dipping their toe in. I mean, we have our internship at Phoenix TV too, but it's all about the experience, and we unfortunately cannot pay. But so that's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win.
That's great. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for spending a few minutes. I know we covered a lot, but one of my favorite topics, and I feel like it's thriving, and it's gonna come back, right? We're gonna come back.
It's gonna come
Even
back.
better and bigger and better.
This is just the intermission. So
There you go. I love that. We heard it from Mitch first. It is just the intermission. Thank you so much for joining us today on this very special edition of City Update, talking about arts and culture. You can get much, much more. Visit Phoenix.gov/arts and get out there, support the arts today. There's a lot happening in the community, even if it has to be virtual. And don't forget, we're at the Black Theater Troupe. They're celebrating 50 years. And come check out some of the plays and theater they have coming up. For City Update, I'm Deborah Sedillo Dugan.